Before we begin this monumental story, I want to invite you to take part in this video right from the start. Leave a comment below telling me what you already know, or what you've always heard, about Ulysses S. Grant. Your opinion helps build a real historical discussion. And of course, if you know someone who loves military history, wars, strategy, or the great figures of the past, share this video with them. And if at any point during this narrative you feel that spark, that thrill of learning something new, do this: hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell, because it's the bell that ensures YouTube will notify you when fresh historical content arrives. Now take a deep breath. Because this is not just the story of a general. It is the story of an unlikely man, quiet, persistent, who rose from obscurity to command the largest army ever assembled in the United States at that time. It is the story of the American Civil War through the eyes of one of its greatest participants. It is the story of Ulysses S. Grant. Ulysses S. Grant was born on April 27, 1822, in Point Pleasant, Ohio. He was the son of Jesse Root Grant, a strict, ambitious, hard-working tanner, and Hannah Simpson Grant, a quiet, religious, deeply reserved woman. Unlike many military leaders of the 19th century, Grant did not come from Southern aristocracy or Northern wealth. He was simply a common boy from the countryside. But there was something within the family, an indirect military tradition. Although his father was not a soldier, the Grants had ancestors who fought in the Revolutionary War. Jesse, proud and determined, wanted his son to follow a path of honor, even if Ulysses himself showed no initial interest in a military life. When he turned 17, Jesse secured for his son an appointment to the United States Military Academy at West Point, the most prestigious military institution in the country. And here's a curious detail: his real name was Hiram Ulysses Grant, but a clerical error in the congressional nomination listed him as Ulysses S. Grant. The S meant nothing, but Grant accepted the name for the rest of his life. West Point molded young Grant. He was not a brilliant student academically, nor did he stand out in the classroom. Yet he became one of the Academy's best horsemen, agile, precise, and astonishingly skilled with wild horses. His classmates described him as calm, shy, and averse to personal conflict. But armed conflict, that, fate had reserved for him. In 1843, Grant graduated from West Point and was assigned to the 4th Infantry Regiment. 2 years later, destiny placed him at the center of the Mexican-American War, 1846 to 1848, where the United States fought to expand its borders. Grant served under two great names, Winfield Scott and Zachary Taylor. And it was in Mexico that he blossomed as a soldier. He distinguished himself at Monterrey, Chapultepec, and other crucial battles. He displayed courage, composure, and, above all, early tactical talent. Grant was not loud, radical, or bloodthirsty. He simply did what needed to be done without hesitation. And if you're enjoying this journey, now is the perfect time to leave your like, because it helps this content reach more history lovers. After the war, his life took a bitter turn. Grant was sent to remote posts, especially on the West Coast, lonely, desolate, and far from his family, his wife Julia Dent, with whom he had 4 children. The distance consumed him. He sank into loneliness and, according to superiors, started drinking. In 1854, under pressure, humiliated and unhappy, Grant resigned from the army. He returned home with no money, no job, and no prospects. He worked as a farmer, a wood seller, a bill collector, and failed at almost everything. His life seemed destined for permanent obscurity. Until 1861, when thunder split the United States in half. On April 12, 1861, Confederate cannons opened fire on Fort Sumter, marking the beginning of the American Civil War. The country split, North versus South. Union versus Confederacy. Freedom versus slavery. And amid the chaos, an unemployed former captain saw a chance to serve again. Grant volunteered for the Union Army. At first, he received small, administrative positions, minor, almost insignificant. But the war would soon reveal his real talent. In 1862, Grant led Union forces to a crucial victory at Fort Donelson in Tennessee. When the Confederate general asked for terms, Grant responded with his most famous line: "No terms except unconditional surrender." It was the first major Union victory of the war. Suddenly, the entire country knew his name. But Grant was just getting started. In April 1862, he faced one of the bloodiest battles of the war, Shiloh. More than 23,000 soldiers were killed, wounded, or missing. Grant was almost removed from command after such enormous losses, but he held firm. And then, in 1863, came his most impressive triumph, Vicksburg. The city, perched atop cliffs over the Mississippi River, was known as the Gibraltar of the South. Impenetrable. Impossible to take. Grant disagreed. After a bold and risky campaign, crossing rivers, marching through enemy territory, and completely isolating the city, he besieged Vicksburg and, after 47 days, captured it on July 4, 1863. It was the missing puzzle piece in the Union strategy. The Mississippi now belonged to the North. The South was split in two. Meanwhile, another name grew in fame: Robert E. Lee, the legendary Confederate general. Lee was considered untouchable, brilliant, almost mythical. No Union commander had managed to defeat him. But in 1864, President Abraham Lincoln made a historic decision. He placed Ulysses S. Grant in command of all Union armies. It was Grant against Lee. West versus East. Determined force versus tactical genius. Two giants, face to face, to decide the nation's destiny. The 1864 campaign was brutal. Grant knew Lee was too dangerous to be handled delicately. He advanced directly, relentlessly, refusing to retreat even when suffering enormous casualties. He was criticized, called a butcher, but he continued forward because he knew it was the only way to defeat Lee. The battles were bloody: Wilderness, Spotsylvania, Cold Harbor, Petersburg. Months of clashes, trenches, hunger, exhaustion. Grant pressing. Lee resisting. But on April 2, 1865, the Confederate line finally broke. Grant captured Richmond, the Confederate capital. And on April 9, 1865, at Appomattox Courthouse, Robert E. Lee surrendered to Grant. The war was over. Grant treated Lee with humanity, respect, and dignity, sealing forever the image of his character. But peace brought tragedy. Lincoln was assassinated on April 14, 1865, only 5 days after the war ended. Grant, who was supposed to accompany him to the theater that night, was nearly killed too. There had been a plan to assassinate him, which failed by chance. Grant lived. But he never overcame the loss of Lincoln. After the war, Ulysses Grant was elected President of the United States, serving 2 terms, 1869 to 1877. His administration fought for Reconstruction, civil rights for freed slaves, and a unified America. He faced scandals involving allies, but he personally maintained a reputation for integrity. Later in life, he faced financial disaster and devastating throat cancer. During his final months, weakened and almost voiceless, he wrote his memoirs, a 366,000-word masterpiece that became one of the greatest military classics in American history. Grant died on July 23, 1885, leaving behind a monumental legacy. A relentless leader, an unbeatable general, a man who saved the Union alongside Lincoln. And if this story captivated you, moved you, or taught you something new, hit the like button, subscribe, turn on the bell, and share this video with someone who loves history.